Hi y'all, Willax Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright. So I did do a little bit of work after last episode. I did make my iron spear. Sorry, iron, not steel. So that's pretty cool. I got that going. I put on the weighted head mod, and I put on the structural brace mod. And then, I got the AK put together. So I do have a gun now. And then, put my bandolier mod on, right? Let me reload faster. And, I had a triple pocket, so I put that on too. Unfortunately, I do not have enough books. I thought I had, but, I don't have enough books to do, better armor or better tools. So we've got to go out and hunt for those. Ooh, look at it's a creepy crawly. Creepy crawly. You're dead. Yeah, dead. Alright. I don't have any wood on me. I didn't think so. I thought I should probably better grab a little bit there before things get too crazy. Alright. Man, I did so much recording last weekend that I didn't have to do any recording this week. It's crazy. And then I proceeded to stay up so late every night reading that I wasn't getting out of bed until way close to noon, which pushes my workday right until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I didn't like it. I need to schedule better. I don't like having to work that late in the day. To be fair, I work the same amount. It's just that, you know, when it's pushing that late at night, I'm like, ah, this is usually the time where I'm doing nothing. Like, how do I think that I'm ever going to be able to take advantage of my new super internet? If I don't fix my schedule so that I would have actual time to do things like stream. If I don't, you know, stop having to work till 10 o'clock at night, because there's no way I'm going to start streaming at 10 o'clock at night. I'm so tired at that point. But, yeah, maybe next week. Maybe next week I'll start trying to push toward, not streaming, but push toward a, better schedule. I wanted to say schedule. Oh, I thought there was gonna be a door. This place here looked like a clothes place, so I was wondering if I couldn't maybe get in here and find stop. Look, I broke in this side window. Oh, dude, you got knocked right down. That's what the weighted mod is supposed to do, is give me a better chance of knocking people down. Oh, dude, I saw you. You were way over there. How did you suddenly pop up next to me? I saw him. He was right there. He was coming this way. I looked. I thought he was going to come around here. And then he just popped up next to me. It was weird. Running shoes. Apparently they're better than what I'm wearing. Weird. No. What? They're better cold and heat resist than what I'm wearing. Okay. Well, that's not what I'm after. I'm after recipes for clothing. All this stuff is just shoes. Alright, that's not what I'm after. I'm after recipes. I mean, that stuff there was good, too. We'll take that as well. Yeah, internet's been amazing. This is crazy to me. Like, this has never happened in all my years. Ugh. Stop giving me that Electric Traps books. Yeah, I'm gonna have that maxed out by the time I get to the point I'm making Electric Traps. I don't think I have ever received a message from my... Man, this spear is slaughtering these guys. I don't think I've ever gotten a message from my ISP before letting me know that they're going to be doing work on the ISP and that I might have disruptions. I don't think that's ever happened. Ever. Maybe once. Maybe once, and it was like a major, you're going to be out of internet for a couple of days kind of thing. But no, that just is just not a thing. There are no recipes in these. I don't care about clothes. Dang, this spear is crazy powerful. And so I got not one, but 3 text messages this week about how they were going to be doing repairs on my internet. Not repairs of my internet, just like they were going to be doing upgrades on the fiber network, and I might see some disruptions between the hours of like midnight and okay, I'm gonna dump that one. I'm gonna take this guy though, because it's got a bandolier on it. Well, it's not bad. I mean, it wasn't the recipes I was necessarily looking for, but... Ooh. Whoop. But yeah, so they let me... Oh. They let me know, for 3 days in a row that they'd be doing different kinds of things. Which I was really surprised by. And I honestly, I think the one day they said they'd be working on the fiber itself, I didn't notice any actual disruptions, but I noticed a slight, like, DNS slowdown when I would go to do something. And then it would be like, oh, we need a second to find this thing. Whew. Oh. Stupid that you can't repair that stuff while it's on you. So, speaking of ISPs, oh man, let me tell you, I got a story. So I live in a really rural area, as I mentioned, uh, often. And so, uh, my internet hasn't ever really been what I would consider amazing. Um, okay. My internet's been okay. Uh, but, definitely nothing good, like, mid cable or, now I've got the high speed fiber, so that's pretty amazing. But, is this not what I'm wearing? Oh no, I'm wearing padded armor. Okay. And so it's crazy to me when I'm talking to my brother like over a year ago now about it's got to be close to 2 years now, where he saw some guys outside of his house, and power attacks now penetrate and damage multiple enemies. Oh, that's awesome. Nobody's using a club in this game, I tell you. I mean, yes, people use clubs. I'm not saying people aren't using clubs. I'm saying that in my game, with just me, I'm currently not using a club. I barely use the club. I do like the knife thing, though. I don't want your bow. Okay, did I get all the boxes? Except the big one that's going to take me an hour to break apart. Okay. Let's break it apart now. So, he had talked to the guys and then found out that one of our local, I say local, but one of the state private ISPs was going to work with one of the co-op electric companies that we have to bring fiber to the area. And so that was awesome. And so I was pretty excited a year ago, a little over a year ago now. It would have been a year ago in August, October, so a year and 2 months. They came through and they buried conduit in my yard. So the conduit is sticking up out of the ground. I guess it's called a stub. So they stubbed the conduit in my yard. And so I'm like, ooh, that's crazy, because my brother hadn't gotten anything done at his house. Not that I wanted to be done before my brother, but what I'm saying is that nothing had been done at his house, and then they started stubbing around here, and so I was excited that, they were moving in that direction, and we were going to get on fiber, and it'll be awesome. And so that was, like I said, a year and 3 months ago. So what am I on, like week 3 or week 4 of fiber now? I think we just finished week 3. I think I'm about to pay for my second month of fiber next week. So nothing happened, right? Nothing's been happening. And then the other company came through and they did their stuff, and then they called, and I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And so my brother, I gave him my Starlink. I talked about that, how it was like I was forcing it on him, basically. He's pretty happy with it, though. He said it's working great. He's got the pole buried in his backyard now, and buried the conduit and stuff, and so shut down his terrible DSL. He had really bad DSL. The problem is being in a rural area, and he's not as rural as I am, but he lives in a small town, and companies don't like to fix their infrastructure, especially the communication companies, because what do they care if you're able to get the full bandwidth that you're supposed to be getting? In fact, it's so bad that the company that I was with contacted me that they were downgrading my DSL, keeping me at the same price, but downgrading my DSL because I couldn't get the listed speeds for my current package. And so they were just going to go ahead and downgrade that for me, so that I didn't think that I should be getting faster internet than what I was getting. They're downgrading me from maybe could hit a 10 to maybe could hit a 6 meg download speed. Yeah, that's been my internet for well, before I got Starlink. That was my internet for years. And so so they come through and they flag my brother's yard, and then they come through and they flag my brother's yard. They come through and they flag my brother's yard over the last, couple of years. Well, this time they actually came through and they started burying conduit. And so he's in his house, and so with when I say flag, what happens is nobody knows where anything's buried. Okay, out here in rural land, they come through, they dig a trench, they put stuff in the ground, and then they cover it over. And so nobody knows exactly what's down in there, and so you gotta have the companies who have cables or pipes or whatever laid through that lawn come out and mark where they believe their stuff to be at. And so my brother has AT&T as his DSL, and so AT&T has to send out their flag guy, and their flag guy comes out and puts little flags in the ground where the cables go. So he came through and he put cables where the phone line runs through the front of my brother's house, but not where the DSL line, which is a different thing, runs through the lawn. And so they come out to put this fiber in. Now my brother's on Starlink now, so he doesn't worry about the DSL anyways. But they come out to put this fiber in, and they start digging, and they hit the AT&T cables because AT&T didn't mark where they were at. And so they come to the house, they knock on his door, they're like, hey, we didn't want to leave before we made sure your phone is working. And he didn't know what they were talking about, and then he found out what had happened, and so he's talking to him. And then I think he talked to the guy twice. The guy in charge of the whole work end of the project, not the guys in charge of planning it, but the guys in charge of putting the cables in the ground and stuff, that guy was there twice at his house, and he talked to him. And so this is the story, all right? This is why I have conduit in my yard. And they're only now getting to conduit in my brother's yard, okay? And on top of that, they're putting the conduit in my brother's yard, and they told him he'd probably have fiber by the end of the year, beginning of next year. Although they told him that twice before. So, except this time they're actually doing work. So, this is what he said. He said they were talking about, he mentioned that I have conduit sticking out of my lawn for over a year now, and the guy is like, oh yeah. So this is what happened. So one of the guys in charge of the project has a buddy who works in another state, a buddy who has a company in another state that buries conduit, and so he called that guy up, and he's like, hey, I have got work for you. I've got all this conduit I need buried. And so the guy goes, all right, I'll bring my crew and my equipment up. And so he brings up his entire crew and all of his equipment to bury this conduit, right? And they get up here, and the problem is the project is a slow kind of project, so they only do a little bit at a time, and they aren't even at the point where they're ready to bury conduit when that guy tells his buddy to come up to bury conduit. And so his buddy gets up here with his crew, and they show him where repair tool crafting skill. Oh, well, then lets me build a claw hammer, which I guess is a good thing. I could use a claw hammer. All right, let's get up on the roof here. Yeah, I know, guy. I don't have any food. I haven't worked that direction yet. Oh, I really expected there to be vultures up here. That's why I got my gun out. I know, guy. Did you hear me? You're just gonna have to starve to death. I'm sorry. I was all excited to try out my gun on vultures. There, put a coat. Oh, you know what? I could probably do some egg stuff. I might have some egg stuff back at home. Problem is that I've been so focused on getting the workbench that I didn't do my farm stuff. So maybe, ooh, that could have hurt. Maybe I should go work on that. Oh dang it, I didn't mean to fall off and break my leg here. So, that guy comes up, they show him the plans, they're like, these are the different sectors we're working on, you know, but they didn't give him a timetable or anything, and so he took the map, that the guy gave him, and he went out, and he picked up the conduit that they had, and I had driven past the place where they have the conduit, and they just had ream after ream. Ream? Is ream spindle? Spindle. Let's go spindle. Spindle after spindle. I honestly don't know what conduit comes in. I said ream, but ream is paper. One of those big, wood wheels just wrapped in conduit. Conduit's kind of like a straw, right? Just thicker and more heavy duty that you run cables through in the ground. Or the outside of a building. But the ones in the ground are like 2 inches across, is what they were burying. And so that guy goes out, and apparently they didn't go by any kind of timetable. And he just starts at the place where they picked up the conduit and laid 10,000 feet of conduit in the ground. 10,000 feet of conduit without anyone from the project looking at what he was doing. 10,000 feet. I feel like it had to be more than 10,000 feet, but that's miles. It's almost 2 miles of conduit. Which is why I think there's probably more than 2 miles of conduit he laid out. I wouldn't be shocked if it was more like 100,000 feet of conduit that he laid out. Because again, we're very rural, and I mean, we're talking just down one road, it would be 20 something miles from where I'm at, to where my brother's at, right? Just that alone, and you know, we would be on the same network. So we're not talking a small amount of conduit that needs to be laid in the ground, and that's through people's lawns, through the ditches, across roads, right? So this dude just laid out all this conduit, miles, you know, thousands of feet of conduit, and nobody questioned anything. And well, turns out he didn't do it right. Also, he didn't do it according to the timetable. And they're not anywhere near being ready to work on the area I live in. And on top of that, it was supposed to be 3 sets of conduit were buried. And at best he did 2. At worst he did 1, and I'm pretty sure it's 1 here where I'm at. I could be wrong, but And so all of that's got to be redone. But thousands of feet of conduit buried. And on top of that, the guy says they didn't mark any of it. So now they don't know. Now they don't know where it's buried or how it's been buried. Or if they put in the right kinds. And so they're going to have to go through and they're going to have to... oh, I don't have the skill for this. Look at... Why is this lit up as something I can do if I don't have the skill for it? Is there a cooking thing? Do I need to do a cooking thing? There is a cooking thing right here. Oh, but it doesn't give me recipes. It does let me try and find recipes, though, so I should probably spend a point on that. Not gonna lie, that could be important. And I want to get a point into rifles now that I have one. Does that mean that I can't do, like... I can do boiled meat, right? Oh, I can't do boiled meat? I gotta get one more point to be able to do boiled meat and yucca juice. Baked potato. Goldenrod tea. Boiled meat. Bacon and eggs. Dude, I gotta get one more book to be able to eat. What the heck? Putting it back. I'm not wasting my food on that, alright? Just gonna have to die. Just gonna have to die, man. I'm sorry. Alright, well, I can maybe work on... I need to get more wood. For sure. I need a bunch of wood. So I can continue working on this place. But yeah, I thought that was crazy. Oh, and on top of that, I'm on the wrong end. They aren't starting on this end of the project. They're starting on the other end. And so, where my brother's at is the first area that they plan to do for the next section. And I'm on the opposite end of that. And so all this conduit got laid over a year ago. They don't know exactly where it's been buried. He didn't bury all the conduit he needed, and it's in the wrong spot for what they need to work on. And so they just have thousands of feet conduit with no thing to work with. It's crazy. So the part of the fiber goes underground and part of the fiber goes above ground. None of the above ground stuff is done. None of the below ground stuff that guy put in is anywhere near the above ground stuff that they did do. He put it in the, like I said, it's in the wrong I don't know what the word I want, the wrong section of the project. You know, and once that guy was done, like, done in a few weeks, with nobody seeing what he was doing, apparently, he went back home to his other state. Because he was done with his part that he was paid for to come up and do. And, so, now that guy who's in charge of the project said he's got to go back through, you know, once they get to this point, anyways, they'll be going back through, and they will have to mark every 10 feet of the conduit that dude laid using basically a fox and hound, which is there's a wire that runs in the conduit, apparently, and I'm pretty sure I've seen the wire but there's a wire with the conduit, and so they'll have to go through with a sensor and have someone walk all of the conduit that guy buried because he didn't flag any of it. And there are no flags in my lawn. There's just conduit. Like I live on a pretty big chunk of land. Not I say that it's not very big here, but other places it would be a big chunk of land. And so it probably runs close to, I want to say 2/3 of the longest side of my property, because I live on a weird triangle piece of property, and so it runs on the hypotenuse. Yeah, so it probably runs close to 2/3 of the length of my property, and it sticks up on one end and sticks up on the other, out of the ground. And on top of that, it was supposed to be bored in, and instead he knifed it in. And so because he knifed it in, they don't know if it's deep enough. They don't know, what kinds of things got messed up that shouldn't have been cut. Boring means they start at one end with a drill, and then the drill goes down underground and then turns and then drills horizontally underground, right? Knifing is where the machine jabs two big knives in the ground, and then the conduit feeds in between those two knives that open up the ground for it. And then there's like a heavy weighted wheel that follows behind it to push the ground back down over top of the conduit. And so they knifed it all in instead of digging out a hole for it and feeding it in. And he said he doesn't know how much of it he's gonna have to dig back up, how much of it he's gonna have to, to redo to be able to even get this stuff to work. And so after my brother tells me all that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Don't matter to me now, because I've got that other guys. Those other guys came in and put in the internet before they could get here. So, it really does seem, now that he told me how their project is working, it really does seem to me like those other people also know that the company that I was gonna get is starting from the other end, because they started from the opposite end and are working the other direction. So I think that's kind of funny. But hey, you know what it does for me? It gets me good internet. So, all right, with that, be bearing the small things, lean the light. I will talk to you later.